Hello and welcome to the Let's Talk Sports Show. I'm back from Lisbon. It's been a fair few weeks, but I'm back. My thanks to Conor Porter for taking up my seat, and it's actually quite warm. You've done a good job there. Very well, Mr. Conor Porter. But anyway, enough of all that Eurovision rubbish. In the next hour, we have Conor Porter, Andrew Pollard, and Joe Stanley. He's somewhere in this room. I can't find him. I think he might have shrinked. Honey, he shrinked the kids. But anyway, for the next hour, we're going to talk about the FA Cup final, sadly, the Formula One, the Champions League, and the England squad that was picked last week. That's coming up on Let's Talk Sport. Yep, you're listening to Calon 105 FM with Jamie Davis, Conor Porter, and Andrew Pollard. He is our new guest. How you doing, Andrew?
Hello, I am doing splendid. Thank you for having me in. It should be good.
It's a pleasure. Of course, you have a show every Friday at 2 till 4, is it?
This is the plug bit, is it? Yeah.
It is, yes.
Tied to the 90s with me just playing lots of boring, bland indie Britpop in the best possible way from the 90s. Yeah, because I've progressed past that decade so much. Yeah.
And you love your football as well.
I do. Yeah. I'm just we were talking before fair that the question on Saturday when somebody found out I'm a Wrexham fan was and what's your other team though, your real team? And it's like, no, I'm just for my sins a Wrexham fan. I've got my season ticket form there to be renewed. I picked up a new shirt last week, and I'm clearly a massive glutton for punishment, I guess.
It's a good job Adam Davies isn't here today, because otherwise there'll be punches thrown in here.
Really? Yeah. We need to do a Chester versus Wrexham video.
When they play next, which might not be for a while, but
It's harsh.
take that, Adam. Take that.
I do feel quite bad for them, but in a way, it's just that they're in this situation because of mismanagement again, which is the first time around, and then talking to because I think there was like more than one Chester fan, which is hard to believe. But I was talking to another one recently who was saying that they just want to go bust and start again as a fan-owned club, and it's like, well, that's kind of what you did, and you're doing it now. So I don't know, but forget about them. I was going to say something then which was totally appropriate.
That's a typical Wrexham fan opinion. Forget about Chester. They're nothing. They're nothing anymore.
I mean, not City, but shame about the.
It's pretty much the same relationship. City and Manchester United.
Yeah, I mean,
Forget about
Chester
United
in
now.
my eyes is a town, not a city. But anyway,
It's a nice place. Got some nice people there.
It is. Good pubs as well, actually.
Some very good pubs. Although nothing that's a patch on the Royal Oak in town. Although other beer drinking establishments are available, clearly.
The pubs were filled on Saturday nights around the UK because there was the FA Cup final. Obviously, for those Blues fans, I'm sure there's only 3 of you, but obviously you won the FA Cup. Well
Jack's
done.
one of them.
Well done, Jack. Yeah, Jack Price. You'd think he'd be here to represent Chelsea today because he was at the final.
Still hungover.
Still hungover. Yeah, 2-day hangover. I don't blame him really because it was. Them winning the FA Cup was quite hard to believe for some because their season didn't go so well. But the FA Cup has certainly ended it off for them. And it could be Antonio Conte's last match in charge for Chelsea, which, Andrew, is quite sad to say, really, because in 2 seasons he's been an FA Cup runner-up. He won the Premier League title in his first ever season in English football and then goes on to win the FA Cup the season after. 2 trophies in 2 seasons. They've done okay.
I'd totally go with that. I think I don't know. The writing's kind of been on the wall since December or even before Christmas, where there just something didn't quite seem right this season. Whether it's a case of the players stopped playing for him, whether it was a case of he just was right. I've won the league last season. He was just seemed like he was ready to go. The players weren't really responding to him. Whether it was a case of he felt he'd done his job and that was it, and he wanted to get his next payday, or maybe get a nice payoff in his contract, which would be cool. But yeah, I think and also a lot of it is the fan reaction too, and because they had a bit of a blip where they weren't playing particularly great football at one point in time, and people just, the way modern football is, if you have 2 or 3 games in a row where you've not put in a decent performance, as a Man United fan, I'm sure you've had lots of that, unfortunately, this season, then some of the fans will turn, and I think Conte didn't take that well to that, but then why should he? Like you said, the year before that, he'd won the Premier League. I do feel sorry for him, but then initially I felt sorry for him. I still do, but I think he's not helped himself along the way. He's dug his heels in and been a bit stubborn about things, and it's just seemed like the writing's been on the wall for months now, and that he doesn't want to be there. They don't really want him there, and he's weighing up his options, which I don't know. A return to Italy, possibly. I know he was tied to linked to the AC Milan job before Gattuso came in for that earlier in the season, which slight sidetrack, but always always used to baffle me as a kid and now how there's not that much loyalty in Italian football. As in, you wouldn't really see Jose Mourinho, obviously Mourinho was at Chelsea, but you wouldn't see Jose Mourinho jump ship to Man City or Jurgen Klopp go to Man United directly from the teams they're at now. Whereas in Italy, I remember going back years when Roberto Baggio left Juventus for AC Milan, and then he played for Inter Milan, it was just there's not the rivalry. While it's intense over there in Italy, it doesn't seem like there's that much loyalty in a way, which is totally gone off the topic. But yeah, Antonio Conte, a little bit hard done by.
As you say that, it's like Ronaldo. I remember when Ronaldo played for Inter Milan, and then he played at AC Milan later on in his career, and he was number 99 on his shirt just because he could. But anyway, is he going to Italy, Conor?
Well, you talk about how he manages the club throughout last season. He did well and they won the Premier League. But then since the start of this season, it's all been going downhill with the text messages of Diego Costa and then saying how this season's going to be more difficult than it was last season for them. You know, people have struggled to retain the Premier League since, Fergie was still managing at United. So it was always going to be a tough task for him. But now it's just a case of whether or not they want him at the football club. I could easily see him go back to Italy or just going to anywhere for a payday, really. Places like PSG would easily pay for him in that kind of sense because he's that kind of quality manager. But I still think Chelsea should give him another chance at least till next season, see what happens at the end of next season and see what position they're in. Because if they're still outside the top four, then you've got a justification to give them the sack because Chelsea should be in Champions League football almost every season. I know there's only 4 spots in the Premier League and, there's 6 teams now looking for those spots completely. So 2 of them are always going to miss out. But Conte is definitely one of those managers that has got the capabilities to do well at Chelsea, but like any manager, just needs a bit of time. But Chelsea have got that formula already that they've had success when a big turnover of managers. You look at the managers that have been to the football club and won the Premier League with them, Jose Mourinho, Carlo Ancelotti, and Antonio Conte. That's only like 3 managers in the past 15 years, but that's more than what any other club has managed to do with that kind of turnaround. It shows that, Chelsea, if they do sack Conte, then there's still going to be hope for them to potentially bounce back straight away because they have that mentality and that football club inserted into them. It's not a case of whether or not Conte is going to be the right man for the future, I think. I think it's going to be a case of whether or not he's going to be right for the short term because Abramovich is a short-term kind of guy. He's not looking for the future. He's just looking for the short term. So is Conte going to stay? I hope he stays, but it still doesn't look like very promising whatsoever.
I think with what you were saying there about the text messages with Diego Costa, I think another big I don't know if stumbling block's the right term really, but one of the first, I think, troublesome signs this season was when they didn't get Romelu Lukaku, and then when it looked odds on that they were going to get him, and Morata was off to Man United, and there's even those stories of Morata had dyed his hair red for the big announcement before getting actually no, you go into Stamford Bridge, and so I think a lot of it was the plan was to get Lukaku in to lead the line, which is okay if that doesn't come off, that's fair enough, but the fact that Morata's struggled after a promising start, a promising first month or so, I think that's had a big impact on him where he's just been, right, that's a problem.
He has trying to implement his ways into the football club completely and the way that they play. We've seen it straight from the off when he's gone from 4 at the back to 3 and the wing backs. That's pure Italian kind of defensive football. So you need players that are in that football club to build around that. And there's a couple of players at Chelsea that aren't those type of players. If you saw Willian after the cup final, he posted a picture on his Instagram story of the FA Cup trophy lifting ceremony with all the players and all the staff and all that. And he had like 3 cup emojis around the picture, but also he had 3 cup emojis over one person in particular, like lined them up to like block them out, and it was Antonio Conte. So
really,
the management style there is not that great, I think, in terms of his man management, and that'll be something definitely that he needs to improve upon if he wants to stay at Chelsea for longer than just next season.
And he might be off to Old Trafford, they reckon.
No,
I would like to have him at United.
I think the Emirates might be a more realistic option. I think I could see him. I think he'd do a great job.
I think Arsenal would benefit more from Willian.
The problem is
Willian. I thought you were still talking about Conte.
Conte. No.
Yeah.
No, Mourinho forever.
That's what I thought. That was mixed messages there.
But yeah, I mean, talking about the game, it was a very dull match, wasn't it? I mean, it was. I mean, as a United fan, since I've been watching them since Fergie left, their football has changed a lot. Where It's a lot of passing about, and I hate football sometimes because in that game, United kept passing the ball, and it's just like, no, go forward, Valencia, go forward. And it's like, no, it just kept passing across. And then the moment they got into the penalty area, just like most games they don't know what to do with it. And then there was no finish. Matic had a shot, which was probably our best chance of the game. That was about 30 yards out, but it just didn't happen for United, Andrew. But Chelsea, yet again, defended well when they needed to.
Yeah, it was... going into it, I thought it was going to be one of those games where I couldn't see it being much more than a 1-0. Maybe even just going the distance and going to penalties. It was always going to be close, and you felt with the two teams who were playing, the two styles, and the fact that they both needed to win that trophy, really, to not to justify the seasons. Particularly, Man United didn't really need to justify the season with that, but a lot around Chelsea. I saw Gary Cahill talking afterwards about how that was their make or break for the season, and it was always going to be that whoever got that first goal, they were just going to sit back and defend, and it was going to be down to the other team to come and try and take the game to him, which Man United didn't do, especially in the first half. In the second half, they had a bit more of a go, but you never fancied them to realistically score. There was no, even though they had some attacking play and they had the ball in the box, it was just, there was nothing really clear-cut or clinical about them. And when they did get a moment, like you said, Matic had a 25-yard effort, which was stung the palms of Thibaut Courtois. Other than that, there was that Pogba header, which was awful.
Oh, it was so bad.
Awful.
So bad.
Then there was a Sanchez disallowed goal, which was just about rightly offside. So it was they went out with a whimper, really. There was you didn't feel like that there was an urgency necessarily to it. Like you said, they're happy to keep the ball and just play the short balls, play sideways a lot of the time. Whereas you want a bit more dynamism, you want them to be, and you've got players there playing who are quick and dynamic, like Rashford and Anthony Martial, two players I think brilliant, but they were both awful, I thought, for the most part, which was disappointing because Jose Mourinho talked the other week about one of the games when Lukaku missed and why I always play Lukaku, and that's why, because the players who were replacing him weren't up to scratch, and that was again the case at the weekend. But then you look at Lukaku, there's stories that he ruled himself out of the game, he wasn't really feeling it, so that's a big question mark on that, I guess, whether you think, well, it's one more game. I know you've got the World Cup on your mind, but it's one more game. It's the cup final. Yeah. It's at Wembley. It's at Chelsea. It's a big spectacle.
I was going to say, the moment you go to the Belgium team, that's when you focus, not think about it beforehand. But I mean, Belgium aren't going to win the World Cup anyway, so I don't know what he's worrying about. I
saw today that they've left Nainggolan out of the squad. Which
really
baffled me. Yeah.
What?
Yeah,
the squad is that good.
I know they've got a lot. Well, that's it. You look at the midfielders they had that are in the squad, or I don't think it's been announced just yet. But the other midfield players they've got a whole load of great midfielders. But it's Ryan Nainggolan. He's. I
was going to say. I mean, oh my goodness!
He's basically the staple of the Roma squad in the Champions League this season. So for a player like his quality, he is a bit old. He's like 29, 30, I think, something like 29. That. So he's not exactly
it could be his last
the youngest, but it could be his last. But when you got people like Kevin De Bruyne in the midfield and Hazard as well, all competing for spots. Yeah. It's a difficult one to insert yourself into the starting lineup, and maybe just
obviously Marouane Fellaini.
Yeah.
That's the big one.
That's the big one.
Absolutely, he's gonna shave his whole hair for the World Cup, I think. But no, it was a very dull game. But congratulations to Chelsea. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that on behalf of the team, obviously, because we didn't win any trophies this year. Oh well, we gave the Europa League to Atletico Madrid. I'm glad they won it. But anyway, we were going to have a music break, but to Jack Price, if you are listening, well, you won by a penalty, mate. We'll be right back. Oh, what a song that is. The Champions League theme tune. Does it give you goosebumps? If it doesn't, you're not a football fan, I'm afraid. You're just one of those people in the corporations. It's the big final. It's the Champions League final on Saturday. And it's Liverpool versus Real Madrid, a final which I can't wait for. Well, I'm half mixed because obviously there could be a result to the red team, or it could be a result to the team that just keep winning it at the moment, and that is Real Madrid. Joe Stanley is with us. He's just come in for the Champions League preview. How do you feel, Joe? You must be feeling it now. Must be feeling a little bit nervous.
A little bit of nerves, a little bit of excitement.
And you've got your Salah t-shirt. Actually, you've got your Firmino, Mane and Salah t-shirt, which we've seen quite a few times here in the Calon FM studios. But will you be wearing that on Saturday?
I'll be wearing my Liverpool shirt on Saturday.
A Liverpool shirt. Have you got anyone on the back? Firmino, isn't it?
Yeah.
Firmino. Yeah. So, What do everyone think? I mean, we'll start off with you, Andrew.
Okay.
We know you love Liverpool Football Club.
Oh yeah, fantastic. Yeah. As mentioned, I am just a Wrexham fan, but by default, I have a bit of a soft spot for Everton because I grew up with lots of Liverpool fans who just be chewing my ear off all the time about Liverpool. So the totally non-biased person in me would love to see Real Madrid absolutely turn them over, but I've just got that horrible feeling that I keep thinking it's going to be maybe 2-0 to Liverpool. It seems to be, because it is an aging Real Madrid squad that needs a little bit of a change up. Much similar to Chelsea. We were talking about Chelsea before, and you could even argue Manchester United, that these teams that they've been great teams-ish. Real Madrid certainly have, but there's just they need a big summer, I think, Real Madrid. Some injection of a little bit more legs, a bit more excitement. So it seems to almost be coming down to Ronaldo or bust. It seems to be a lot of the headlines, which obviously to me, I think he's the best player on the planet. So if somebody's going to do it, then it's got to be Cristiano. But I've just got a sneaky feeling that the Copites might edge it.
Oh, right. Okay. So obviously, Messi, if you are listening, yes, Ronaldo is a better player.
I'd always go with that. Yeah. but then I love a pantomime villain. So I think that's part of my leaning with Ronaldo. That he plays it up. Yeah.
Especially Euro 2016. Pantomime
Yes.
villain right there. Conor Porter. Obviously, you look at this Real Madrid team. They've scraped through each round, haven't they?
Yeah.
They've been poor in La Liga. I watched them against Barca I wasn't at the Bernabeu. Actually, you were at Barcelona's ground.
I
weren't you?
was. I had a week where on the Wednesday it was at the new camp, and then on the Saturday it was at Old Trafford, and then Monday on the bank holiday I was at the racecourse. It was
Nice.
the whole spectrum of football, clearly. Yeah.
Fantastic. Actually, you watched 3 football matches in 3 different countries as well.
There wasn't a game at the new camp. That was the only thing.
Oh
No, it was just it was the international break. It was. So
of course.
Yeah. So when I was looking at the planning the holiday, and I was looking at the dates and thought, well, there's no games booked in for them. Maybe it's like reserved for cups or the Champions League. And it turns out it was international break, so made a bit of a schoolboy error on that one. But yeah.
Next time.
Yes.
Next time. Conor Porter, as I said, they've scraped through, but they've made the final again.
Yeah, I mean, Real Madrid consistently, season after season, they get to this stage of the Champions League, and under Zinedine Zidane, they've managed to win the competition each and every time. So to get there for a third time is truly a remarkable achievement. But, still, Zinedine Zidane's under pressure. If he doesn't win this, because of the way that he performed in the league, he could potentially be sacked. So it's a lot of pressure on both teams, really, because Real Madrid, they need to win this for Zidane to keep his job, and obviously Liverpool want to win this in order to get the first trophy under Klopp,
and the biggest trophy,
of club football. So what an achievement that would be for him and Liverpool Football Club. But as you said, scraping through against the likes of Bayern Munich and Juventus, I still like to think that potentially they could still do a decent job, but it just plays down to what Andrew's already said as to whether or not that man Ronaldo is there on the day. They still do have the likes of Isco and Sergio Asenjo that can come onto the field and make an impact, as we've seen across the season. But it goes down once more to that playmaker, Ronaldo. It's the same situation really as with Liverpool. If Salah is able to play well, then I think Liverpool have really got a fighting chance to try and win this. Like, my heart's saying, let's have Liverpool win this and get Klopp, his first big trophy. But my head's saying Real Madrid, because I just don't think they can be beaten on the grandest European stage, and we've seen it for the past 2 seasons. I mean, I'd love to be proven wrong, but I think Real Madrid potentially going to go for it.
Let's hear from Joe.
It's one of those, and I've got a little bit of Liverpool bias, just a little bit.
Of course.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Joe, if I was a United fan and I'm a United fan, if it was United in the final, I'd feel exactly the same.
It's one of those. I've got a feeling that both Salah and Ronaldo will score. I was talking about it with a friend yesterday. He's a big United fan like you, and he was saying it's going to be 3-1, but you can't see which way. He said, which made me laugh. I was like, well, where's the edge of your bets, mate?
I'll say this now: if it was 3-1, I'd go with Liverpool.
Yeah, I said it depends on whose defence is better, because obviously it's just going to be a game about attack, isn't it? Or that's how it looks like it's going to be and stuff. And obviously it depends on how well Liverpool defend on the day, doesn't it, really, from a Liverpool perspective. Madrid's defence is aging, and a couple of years ago you had them play Roma, and Salah was absolutely tearing Ramos and Marcelo to shreds. The only thing he didn't do was score, because he didn't have the end product. Now he's got the end product, so we'll have to see what happens there.
That's quite an improvement then, isn't it?
I feel that it's almost obviously it's Real Madrid, so you could argue they're the biggest team in world football. But I think that it's almost the right team for Liverpool to be playing in this situation. It's just it's almost going to come down to almost the energy and the legs of Liverpool and the frenetic attacking play they have against the almost Real Madrid at this point. I think, especially defensively, they're almost like a classic Italian team where it's all wise heads. They know their job. They're very good at it. They're hard to break down. And it's just whether Liverpool's attack wins out on that. And I don't think it's going to be as all-out attacking from both sides as many think. I think Real Madrid might be trying to be a bit more savvy and take the sting out of the game early on.
Certainly, Kroos and Modric will control this game in the midfield. And I think that'll be the key element, really, is to whoever wins that midfield battle will ultimately get more of the opportunities to strike in this game. And I think Kroos and Modric easily beat out Henderson and whoever he's going to be partnered up with, because I know Chan's training again with Liverpool, but he's not going to play in this game, is he?
It's not likely. He'd probably be on the bench.
Yeah, so it'd probably be Milner, which I'm sorry, like as much as Milner's been great this season, I'm not putting him ahead of either Kroos or Modric.
No. But yeah, they're different players anyway.
Yeah.
But I mean, Kroos and Modric. I mean, we don't even talk about them. We talk about Ronaldo and Bale.
That's what I mean. They're the hidden parts. They're basically the gears that makes the Real Madrid team work
as well.
And Casemiro as well. He's another good youngster, really.
I mean,
there's plenty of Real Madrid players in the squad that you look. Yeah.
What happened?
That's where it balances out, though. In terms of defense, Joe already mentioned that Real Madrid do have that aging defense, but it is experienced at the top level of football. Yeah. Ramos has gone on to the World Cup and European Championships, and Champions League with Marcelo with the Champions League as well. And Calon Navas, he was a decent goalkeeper at one point. He's drifting off a little bit, but Liverpool with the same situation. Karius and Mignolet aren't exactly world class goalkeepers that you would expect to be at at Barcelona or Real Madrid or whatnot, and they've got the defense there that's still learning to play together, because Virgil van Dijk only came in January, but it's still a quality strong squad. But I think Lovren's coming up now to 30, isn't he? Something like that. Robertson is a promising one, and so is Alexander-Arnold. It'd be interesting to see how they're able to handle Ronaldo, and if Bale plays and whatnot, how they're able to handle world-class players like that, because then that'll be a true testament as to what this Liverpool defence can actually do in the future. Because if they're able to handle Ronaldo and Bale, then there's no stopping them from going on to be a promising factor in the Premier League next season.
I think it's going to be one of those games where, this is what I think, Joe. I think Liverpool will want to start off really well, because they have done, haven't they, Joe? They've done that in each tie where they've scored goals galore for fun, and especially in the first half of each tie, they've just absolutely nailed it. But my problem is Liverpool is they don't play 90 minutes, but I just sense that Liverpool might have enough goals before that to happen.
The problem with this is that I'm sorry, Joe. I'm going to pull this up out of the dirty sheets, whatnot. Liverpool's away form this season has not been that great against the big teams.
No.
And that is the main concern for me. If this was being played at Anfield, then I would give them all day.
Yeah. It's a neutral venue, though. So.
It is a neutral venue. But if you look at Real Madrid's away form, you looked at how they played against Juventus and how they played against Bayern Munich, two of the biggest teams in Europe, and they absolutely dominated them away from home. That's the concern for me, as to whether or not Liverpool will be able to handle the pressure of playing in the Champions League final and against a side like Real Madrid, because they haven't really had a huge team to play against. Give credit to Roma for beating Barcelona, and give credit for Porto for being so dominant in Portuguese football for the past couple of years. But they're not in the same standard of leagues of Bayern Munich or Juventus.
I don't want to give them too much credit, but there was the two legs of the Man City game where
there was the two legs of the City game. But if you remember in that City game as well, they did have a goal disallowed, and Guardiola absolutely completely lost it because of that factor. And I think if that goal had not been disallowed, then obviously you don't have Guardiola losing himself. There's such some knock-on effect from that goal that it played into Liverpool's hands nicely.
But Liverpool still won that tie.
They still did win that tie, and I give them credit for it, but it was only outside of fortune, really, in my opinion.
I honestly think Liverpool have got the winning player, and it's Mo Salah.
Do you like omens, Jay?
Do I like what?
Omens.
I don't really know what they are.
Signs.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess
like
so.
A correlation of events
type of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correlation of events. 1981, there was a royal wedding.
Oh.
Liverpool won the European Cup against Madrid. Sadly for the Pope, he died. Same thing happened in 2005. What's happened this year? Royal wedding.
Yeah.
Liverpool Champions League final.
Is he royal though? You said it the other day on your Facebook.
Prince Harry, yeah, he's not. Yeah, I mean,
He's technically royal. And then obviously.
have you seen his other dad?
Well, Liverpool.
I should probably not say this.
Oh,
on me.
God.
Liverpool are in the Champions League final, so there's another one.
They talk about it in the sun enough, mate. I think you're fine.
Plus in 81, Frankfurt won the German Cup. So that's another one for you.
I mean, I'm just hoping that the Pope doesn't pass away at some point this year when you said that.
I know.
Is that a sign that
I don't know. I think I'd take the Pope passing away
I like
over
this
Liverpool
Pope
winning the
as well.
Champions League. I think if I'm given an option, no offense.
I like this
Big
Pope
ups
as
there.
well. He's a football
from
fan.
Argentina?
I've heard he's an Evertonian fan. Yeah, I've heard he's an Everton
Oh,
fan.
really?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, big fan of Duncan Ferguson.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, if Liverpool win, he'll probably.
Probably sees a Liverpool badge in Rome and just goes, yeah, whatever. But Rome lost to Liverpool, and I think after that, it was the.
But
Rome fixture.
they won at the Stadio Olimpico, didn't
Well,
they?
that's the thing, because that's what was crazy. It was 5-0 at one point in that tie, and then it ended up being 7-6. That's the only downfall I think Liverpool have for this Saturday. But look, it's a 90-minute game. If it's decided, then it's not a two-leg tie. It's all about who performs on the night. It's in Kiev, in Ukraine. What do you guys think of it being in Kiev? Because there's a lot of complaints about that, Joe. Lots of Liverpool fans have had problems trying to get flights there because it's apparently the highest was £1,400 just to get a flight to Kiev. I mean, that's not very fair, is it? UEFA have clearly not thought about the fans there.
Oh, it's ridiculous. And then there's also the ticket stuff as well. Each club only getting 16,000.
That's ridiculous.
And I've heard that Madrid their fans have had to return 2,000 of their tickets or
Really?
something because they can't afford to get to the Kiev because of the flights. And obviously you've got the Liverpool fans who want those. Most of it's gone corporate or neutral tickets, which is all coming out of UEFA's pocket. And I had a look at the hospitality the other day. I knew I wouldn't be going to Kiev because I couldn't afford. But what's it, £3,000 for hospitality tickets was the cheapest. It's ridiculous.
Wow.
I know the Champions League final is not cheap to go to, but what is it, £80 being the cheapest tickets, and that's right up in the lap of the gods, you can't see a thing, and then £400 and something for the most expensive tickets. It's just ridiculous pricing, and then they expect you to fly on top of that.
Yeah, and then hotel.
Yeah, apparently this is the last final of is it Platini era or something, the last one that he picked, and people are querying whether it's all about the money this time instead of the venue, because next year's at Atletico.
It's in Madrid, yes.
So.
I think that'll be a good venue. Be nice and sunny there. Anyway, it's meant to be quite cold in Kiev this week anyway, but Kiev did host Eurovision last year, just saying. Anyway, let's get predictions. Scoreline.
Oh, this is tough. Can you come back to me?
Andrew.
I think I've talked myself round I've talked myself off the ledge, and I'm going to go Real Madrid to etch it 3-1.
In 90 minutes?
Yes.
3-1 in 90 minutes. Joe?
I know I said there'll be goals, but I'm going to go for 2-1 to Liverpool.
2-1 to Liverpool. I'm going to go with a Liverpool win. As much as I hate it as a United fan, I just can't see Liverpool losing this. I'm going to go for a 2-0 win. Early goals, Real Madrid won't answer. Those are our thoughts here at Let's Talk Sport. We will, of course, have another preview video later on our YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to Let's Talk Sport on YouTube. Now, it's the World Cup in a few weeks. And now this song, what a classic this song is, because we love the Three Lions. Well, I would say 3 out of 4 of us in this room. 3/4 of us do. But anyway, this is Baddiel and Skinner with Three Lions. What a song that is. I mean, the World Cup is very much nearby. We just cannot wait. It's just weeks away. We will have our own preview show in a few weeks' time where, of course, many of us will not want the French to win the World Cup because we are English and some of us are Welsh as well. Our neighbours, maybe the Irish, if they were there, they might have a chance, but probably not. Conor, I was very rude to you before because I cut your predictions out.
Yeah, Adam was like, not Adam. Andrew was like going.
Yeah,
What's
I was.
going
You
on
were
here?
in the zone though. You're in the zone going into your next thing. Put for Three Lions, and it's like no.
I'll say it quickly then so we can move on. I think Real Madrid will win it after extra time 2-1.
2-1. I bet it'll be a last-minute winner from Sergio Ramos's header from a corner, just like he always does in a final.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
Yeah. I mean, he's still got it, Mr. Ramos. But
And then instead of me running around the streets in celebration, I'll be crying.
Are you watching it at home, are you? Or because you said you weren't going to Anfield now.
I am going to Anfield.
Oh, you are going to Anfield?
Not,
sorry.
It's Kiev I'm not going to.
Kiev, of course, yeah. Don't blame you, though. The prices are ridiculous. We must move on because, I mean, I was going to get the England World Cup squad up, but the big news of last week, which I don't understand the headlines when it comes to sport sometimes, because we did get told that Alexander-Arnold was the biggest shock. And it annoyed me, Joe, because I thought, why is it a shock when I thought he deserved the World Cup place anyway? Great news for him. 19 years old. He's playing for his hometown club in the Champions League final on Saturday, and now he's going to represent his country at his first World Cup at only 19. Incredible.
It's unbelievable. And people are saying that he hasn't got a cap yet. There's 2 friendlies before the World Cup, so he'll get caps before he goes. We took Theo Walcott in 2006?
2006,
and he hasn't played before.
He didn't get a kick that whole tournament, though.
No.
that was the thing with that. Well, Alexander-Arnold, I think, again, it pains me. I feel like I'm giving far too much love to Liverpool today, but I think he's deserved the inclusion in the squad. Just because he's not been in the squad before, not had a cap before, doesn't make any difference. He's been playing consistently. And we're at a stage in British football, in the Premier League football, where with the England national team, if there's anybody English of whatever age and they're playing regular first team football, they're always likely to be have a sniff of getting into the England squad, and that's the case with him. Although he does deserve it.
Apologies there, sorry, just a camera control. But Conor, of course, we were looking at the England squad last week, and in my eyes, there isn't much I would have changed from that. Gareth Southgate went for form and didn't think about the names of the players.
Yeah, he certainly did went for form over any sort of name quality. People like Alexander-Arnold getting in after, arguably only half a season in the Liverpool starting 11. So a quality player, but he's earned his right in there. And, you might say he still went for a couple of named players like Gary Cahill over the, anyone like Tchaikovsky that's been absolutely amazing for Burnley this season. So it's an interesting selection. I actually like the selection as well because I think it plays out to England's strengths of versatility, especially in players like Ashley Young and Fabian Delph that can play in the midfield as well as the left-back positions as well. And I think it really plays to England's strength, which is quick flowing and attacking football. You got Vardy and Sterling in there that could easily potentially maybe be the starters in the starting 11 and pushing on from there, supporting Harry Kane moving forward. I think this is a really promising team. You look at it as well, I think as well, you should start Vardy and Kane together. They both got high quality amount of goals in the Premier League this season. Kane 30, Vardy 20, so that's 50 altogether just in your 2 attackers. So that's a good strong threat
as well.
Yeah, so there's plenty of goals there. It's just a case of fitting it all together and making sure it works really. So it'll be interesting to see how we do in these next 2 friendlies against Nigeria and I forget who the other one is.
Costa Rica.
Is it Costa Rica? That'd be quite interesting.
Yeah.
Actually. The one player I kind of wish wasn't there was Danny Welbeck. Poor Welbeck. I know he looks like Bart Simpson, but I feel sorry for him really.
I think the only reason why he's been brought is because of depth. I don't really see him playing a lot.
Yeah, he's got a lot of versatility. Then he can play all along the front 3.
We haven't got much in there.
Yeah,
we haven't got really many strikers, have we, to choose from?
We don't know, and I mean, I would say bring back Rooney, but he doesn't like playing up front anymore, so it's not that simple.
It's useless anyway.
Eh?
Useless anyway.
Oh, wow, Joe. I mean, we can have a fight outside if
he's on the way to America to play Shrek in a live-action role play.
I like the fact that Nick Pope kept his spot. That was nice. Again, it shows that it's on form, not on reputation. Well, I'd agree. Gary Cahill, I thought if you're basing it on form, he's not. Well, he's hardly been getting a kick for Chelsea over the last few months. He obviously played at the weekend and lifted the trophy. But I think that was the one to me where that stunk a little bit of like, you're here for name value. But I can also see the experience level of that. I'm glad that they went with Nick Pope because he's come from nowhere, played all through the leagues and the non-leagues to finally get a sniff because Tom Heaton's been brilliant for the last few years. So he's not.
He put him on the side, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He got injured and then he couldn't get back into the team by the time at the end of the season because Nick Pope played so well. And then that nicely segues into the whole Joe Hart debate, which to me is not a debate.
Yeah,
I don't know. Again, you talk about unnecessary news. I don't know why that's headline news. He's not played very well, and then he's blaming it on David Moyes. Like, well, no, he wasn't. David Moyes wasn't in goal, letting those silly errors on a far too consistent basis.
These players and goalkeepers do get so much protection, though, don't they? I mean, they always say it's the manager. I mean, it's the manager that selects them, but they can't hold their hand when they're on the pitch, can they, to do
No.
their thing, because that's their professional job. They're supposed to train and work for it for each game, and it's ridiculous. I mean, I agree. Joe Hart, I was never expecting him to make the squad anyway. As you say, Nick Pope. We have Jack Butland as well, who has had a bit of an edgy season, but obviously Stoke have had a very poor season, and they've gone down for it. He's very well not going to be staying at Stoke. I'll be very surprised. Maybe a Liverpool contender, actually, Joe.
Yeah.
We'll find out in a few weeks' time.
I actually think West Ham could put a stronger in bid for Jack Butland.
Really?
Especially if they're serious with this Pellegrini
Yeah.
appointment. If they do announce him. I don't know if they are going to announce him, but certainly Stoke would love to keep him, but it's going to be a struggle for him in the Championship. I just heard as well that Gary Rowett, the Derby manager, has been appointed as Stoke's new manager. So that's an interesting appointment.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a good appointment.
Yeah,
Breaking
so
news here
that'll
on
be
West Ham
interesting.
Sport.
Well, it's pre-recorded, so it's like 8 hours ago now.
At
But
the time, it was,
but I don't think Butland will stay in the Championship. Maybe he might get sent out on loan if Stoke are really lucky. But it's going to be hard to reject any sort of money bid that comes in for a player like Jack Butland, and certainly potentially go to West Ham would be a good move for him. Even as well, maybe even Ton Heaton going to West Ham would be a good goalkeeping move for them, because then at least it gives him game time once more.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the goalkeeping situation. Joe Hart, for me, as Andrew said, doesn't have a right to be in the England squad anymore just because his name's Joe Hart. And I actually think this is him done. I don't think he'll play for England ever again, really.
No,
No.
not a chance. Unless
I'll tell you what's been a major problem with Hart is the fact that he injured him. I can't remember what he's done. He's done an injury on his left side, and ever since he's had that injury, he's not been able to. He hit a shot low to his left. He's not been able to get down and stretch to reach it anymore. So
It's like the two Lee Griffiths free kicks for Scotland that were both to that side, and he
Yeah.
couldn't get over.
Oh
Yeah.
God, yeah.
I enjoyed those free kicks.
I bet you did. I didn't.
Yeah.
But no. But then Harry Kane scored on the last minute. That was a nice
yeah.
moment.
I think I've been saying this for all this season and a little bit longer, that I think England have legitimately got 5, maybe 6 goalkeepers I'd take ahead of Joe Hart. You've got Nick Pope, Ton Heaton, 2 at Burnley there. You've got Jordan Pickford, you've got Jack Butland. I go with Fraser Forster ahead of him. Me, as after his spell at Wrexham years ago, Ben Foster, I think, is a better
Fraser
goalkeeper.
Forster
He's been great, Ben Foster.
I know he's retired from international
Fraser
football.
Forster lost the Southampton job, though, to Alex McCarthy.
Yeah. He's had a shocking season. I'd still take him over Joe Hart, though.
That's bad, that is.
Joe Hart has made so many simple errors, though. It's
Yeah.
like his confidence has just gone out the window.
But he
though.
shouts lots, so it's all right. He's got his name, like you said, he's named Joe Hart, and he shouts lots. That's
Yeah.
his thing. That's what he wants to get by on
Lad
now.
from Shrewsbury, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I think Petty might actually go to Shrewsbury Town.
If they
then
get
go up
into the championship, then he
No,
may
they
as well
will.
go there,
They will.
and that's going to be horrible. For
I'm
me.
very confident they will. But anyway, I've probably just did a pyre to touch the trophy before the game kicks off, and then oh no, we've lost. I mean, just quickly looking at the team again. We got fixtures against Panama, Belgium, and Tunisia. Now, let's be realistic. I mean, we will have a big preview in a few weeks' time. Second place has got to be our aim, hasn't it?
I think so. I think if you're not qualifying for the knockout rounds, then Southgate's got to go, because obviously it's not
In
working.
for Wenger.
And
No.
I think I'm the only one who wants that.
I think Claude from Arsenal Fan TV would absolutely mental.
I
'cause
think
he would
Claude
have
from
a heart
Arsenal Fan
attack.
TV would be a better fit for the job than Gareth Southgate.
Claude would have a heart attack if he has to deal with Arsene Wenger ever again. So I don't see that happening. But yeah, if they don't make out the group stages, then there's something's reals up, and we have to figure out. And a lot of it will be blamed on the youth factor, not taking experience. You know, you can already see the headlines being written already. You know, you fail to capitalize on poor experience and whatnot.
A lot of it is down to the media, because if you've got to commend Southgate for going with a relatively young squad and for giving young players like Trent Alexander-Arnold a game. Well, he might not get a game, we don't know, but he's in the squad. I think you've got to commend him for that, and the press do in some ways. But then if they do happen to maybe not get out of the group, or they get knocked out the next round after that, or they don't perform well, then they're going to get absolutely slated, and that's when those young players, their confidence is shot. That's their first experience of senior England international football, and they're getting slated already. It's. I think the media's got to be a little bit more lenient as well.
I think the media's been lenient ever since the 2010 World Cup. because
Oh,
that was
yeah,
the
yeah.
really
That was really
the
bad.
last chance for this the England stars of Lampard and Gerrard
Golden
to
generation.
the
Yeah.
golden generation to really get something in the hand. And you remember the headlines on the back of the papers beforehand. It was something like we
could win the World Cup.
No, it was like it was England, Algeria, Slovenia or Slovakia won,
Slovenia,
yeah.
and the USA. So they said Algeria, Slovenia, and Yanks easy, and then we go and perform the way that we did in the
Joe
tournament.
Hart as
And we
well,
could,
isn't it?
Yeah, Robert Green
Joe Hart.
as well.
Yeah,
wasn't
Green.
it?
So
Yeah.
Two Hallers.
we could only scrape through Slovenia in the last group stage game thanks to Defoe.
Yeah. So
That's how bad it was.
looking on the face of it, same situation again. Really, England should really be finishing either first or second in this group. Obviously, Belgium would be the big factor, and it'll be interesting to see how and what form they have approaching into that game. Whether or not they're able to dismantle Tunisia and Panama easily, or if they're coming through against Tunisia and Panama with only just a draw or a shallow win, because that will really play a factor into how England play against Belgium and what kind of football we see. I think if we've got convincing wins and Belgium haven't done too well, then we could see a bit more of a defensive approach as we approach the knockout stages. But then after that, it's got to be full out attacking football. And if that isn't delivered, then something's up. Something's really up. For me, England have to make the quarterfinals of the World Cup. If you make quarterfinals, then
I'd be happy with quarterfinals.
job well done to
Yeah,
Southgate.
yeah.
Thanks for doing that. Let's progress forward into the European Championships in 2020. But if they don't get to the quarterfinals, then I think real questions we have to ask of
Then Seven
Southgate.
and will still be our best manager
Yeah.
in the 21st century.
They have to be asked of Southgate as to what kind of management he is doing at the England squad, the tactics that he's using, and if they are the right tactics for this England squad moving forward.
Can I ask a question? Who would you have captain in the side? Because that was the debate the other day.
They reckon Kane, don't they?
Because Sky had 3 options on their poll: Henderson, Kane, and Dyer.
I wouldn't have
Dyer
Kane.
sums it up.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have Dyer either. I'd actually have Henderson, because out of those lot, he's kind of like the most calm in a sense.
Yeah.
And probably not. Kane, we've seen in the past couple of months that he can't take criticism, and that is a real problem to have as a captain, as a manager, because
Well, he claims goals, doesn't he, when he doesn't
well, he can't handle a tweet by the FA Cup, just a 4-second GIF or whatnot from that. So
so funny.
I don't want to see Kane to be. He's a decent player and all that, and I'm sure he'll work on becoming a better leader. But I think for Henderson, Henderson deserves to be the captain. He's certainly got a solid.
No. I'd give it to Gary Cahill instead.
He's not going to play often enough.
Well, if he was playing,
You can't have a
regularly-
captain not on the field in the
Henderson-
World
No,
Cup.
Henderson was the under-21 captain as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Henderson certainly is a solid addition.
He doesn't have a backbone for me, Henderson.
No.
That's my problem.
In what sense?
Well, he just doesn't. I mean, he captains Liverpool. I don't see him as a leader out on that pitch.
He's leading them to the Champions League final,
That's not him, Mo Salah. Let's be honest.
but he's still part of that team, though.
What does he do
He's
in that
not the.
squad?
What's he doing in that squad?
Can I just say,
He doesn't need to be the driving force in that squad, though.
Henderson is an
I can't believe I'm defending Liverpool here.
Henderson is a very overrated player. I'm sorry, Joe, but he is.
He's not an overrated player because he's not rated. So how can you be overrated if you're not even
Well,
rated?
my problem is that he made the FIFA cover because of LeBron James having all that support
But
behind him.
that's a whole
I
completely
voted
different.
for him for
cover.
that.
That's a
Yeah,
that's
FIFA
a
16.
that's a
15,
completely
or
different
something.
cover.
Funny thing is,
This is why I like buying them digitally, because then I don't get to see that face.
the thing is, you're gonna hate me because I voted for him like loads for that cover.
Of course
just
you would. You're a
just-
Liverpool fan.
just for a bit of a laugh and because I'm a Liverpool fan, I wanted the Liverpool player on the cover.
That's understandable.
And then-
Even if I don't
To
agree
be
with
honest,
that.
I mean, I'd rather have had Ashley Young on it, but you know.
Don't get me started on Young.
Why is it you don't want Ashley Young in that England squad? He's
I don't
been
think he's good.
brilliant.
I don't think he's that good enough. I don't think he's been that good. I think he's overrated, and I think United fans are making a bigger deal about him when he's not done that much. He was woeful at the weekend. Woeful.
I think when you look at the other left back options, though, Danny Rose hasn't really had a kick after whatever went
No.
on last summer. With
Ryan
Pochettino.
Bertrand should be in there.
Ryan Bertrand's
Bertrand,
been all right.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd have him in there.
Southampton have been in a relegation battle though, so it's
Yeah.
kind of like tough to put someone in like
Yeah.
him. That's why Butland's not really starting over Pickford because of that factor. The fact of that,
If United had played Luke Shaw this season, he would make it, but sadly,
He would, but that's it. Another one that's ruled out. So it's kind of by default. Ashley Young's probably going to be your starting left back going into the tournament. You'd think.
It's crazy, isn't it? He's the oldest player as well, isn't he,
Yeah.
Connor?
Well, just
32, yeah.
going back to what
Maybe
you were saying
Cahill's
before
older.
about going back to 2010, and you saying about how it took Defoe to salvage you through against Slovenia. And you fast forward 8 years, just to highlight the lack of depth up top for England. And it was only a matter of months ago, there was still talk of, even though Defoe's not had a great season by any stretch of the imagination, that he's not far off. If you're looking at England forwards, if there's 1 or 2 injuries, you're looking at, do we bring Defoe in? Or do we bring in Daniel Sturridge? And you're thinking, there's just such a lack of depth. There's Kane and there's Vardy, and then...
Need to get Calon Wilson in the England squad. I'm sure he's English, isn't he?
He is, isn't he?
I don't know.
I think he is.
He might be dual nationality, but I'm not too sure. He needs to get in the England squad for me.
It's got to be English, surely.
Did
I'm
you
sure.
see the rumours of Leon Bailey
Yes.
circling in terms of like...
He's Jamaican. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. It's not scraping the barrel in terms of quality, because what I've seen, he's been brilliant. But in terms of like... Why has this come up now? Just for the World Cup, like you scratch your around thinking.
He posted on his Instagram
the same
something
with
like
Johnny
about
Barnes.
being a lion. And that's why
3 lions it was. That was
Yeah.
it. That's all it took.
It was the same with Johnny Barnes, though. He's technically Jamaican.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true. Okay, then I've got one question for you all. If there was one player that you'd want in the England squad and take one out, who would it be? Connor?
I'll come back to me because mine's going to be controversial.
I'll forget you. Andrew?
Oh my word! As somebody who has no vested interest in the England squad, this is a hard one for me to think of. I think just for the media storm it'd drum up, and just to give me a chuckle as someone a bit of an Everton leaning, Wayne Rooney instead of Jordan Henderson.
I love this guy. Joe?
That's a tough one. Like I said before, I would have had Bertrand in instead of Young, but I'm not a fan of Fabian Delph either. But the problem is, who'd you put in instead of Fabian Delph? Because obviously Drinkwater's not good enough.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I've got to drink more tea.
I'll just say Bertrand for Young then.
Bertrand. Okay.
I'm not sure.
Young is normally better than Bertrand because Young is being alive for a longer time. But anyway.
I suppose if I was being... Now I've actually had a second to think about it properly instead of my knee-jerk Rooney one. I think logically you could make an argument for not having Gary Cahill. Even though he's that experienced factor, just if Southgate's going to go all in on form, and that's what he keeps drumming home is it's all about on form. Gary Cahill doesn't deserve to be in that squad. So then you'd look at probably Chris Smalling. Even though Southgate has come out before and said that he's not the player for him because he doesn't trust him with the ball. I don't know. It's a tricky one.
Connor?
Well, I was going to go for one player because I thought Joe might take the other. I was being kind to him and let him have that player. I was going to originally say Lallana and let Joe have Lallana because, pushing in that way. But actually, it's the same case really for... He wants to change his answer now. It's the same case for Jack Wilshere, though, because, he has been injured a lot. I get it. He has pulled out of the England squad a lot. I get it. But he is a very promising forward-thinking midfielder.
Yeah,
he's only 20
for 7 years.
He's only 26 years old, though. You got to put him in at some point. Think about it now. When's the next World Cup he's going to get? 30. It's too late for him then. You got to put him in.
It's too late for him now.
You got to think about it. Like they've obviously got the replacements already there with Lallana in the call up and Ruben Loftus-Cheek. How well he's done at Crystal Palace this season, but Jack Wilshere's got that English experience already, and he's got that big club experience with Arsenal too. So he knows how to play in these pressure situations. It's just a case of injury, though. Making sure he stays injury free.
It's to borrow a quote from somebody on, I think it was on Talksport this week. These players who've got experience, it's experience of failure. They've not experienced, especially. Jack Wilshere at Arsenal's won a few FA Cups. One of those he wasn't there because he was on loan at Bournemouth, and then the season before that he hardly got a kick. This year he's played, I think, 34 games, which I was surprised by that. I know he's played it a lot more than he has done. I thought it'd maybe be 20 or so, and he's had some good performances, but I don't know. I can see the argument for him to be in the squad, but I don't know him. And you touched on it then. There's this. He's got so much potential. It's like you're 26 now. But the way it works, sometimes you see players who are 24 up for the PFA Young Player of the Year. It's like, well, there's got to be some kind of line. And I think the same with potential. If you've not realised, because obviously years ago, and there's still a lot of great things to Jack Wilshere, a lot of good things he can do, and he's had a lot of potential. I just think you've got to get to a point where enough is enough. And if you're taken to a tournament, planning on, because if you take him, I think he's got to play. I think he's that good in comparison to who else is there. I think he does have to play, but you can't bank on him to be fit. You can't take somebody that unreliable to base your team around.
Okay, we will have to wrap up though, but thanks again to Conor, Andrew, and Joe Stanley for their help on the Let's Talk Sports show. We'll be back on next week, same time, same place on Calon FM, and remember to subscribe to Let's Talk Sport on YouTube for our videos. And just quickly mention that this weekend is the Indy 500 race, and Danica Patrick, of course, the female racer. It'll be a final ever race, and she will start in 7th position. So good luck to her. There will be some history made in Indianapolis. It's goodbye for now.
Calon FM on 105 FM, uniting our community.